All right, so today I'm going to talk about and address the question, are we in a recession? And I know I've been feeling it, and maybe you've been feeling it too. Have you been to the grocery store lately? Does it feel like you're having to dig deeper into your pockets? I know when I've gone to Whole Foods, I usually get my eggs there, free range, 18 eggs, usually cost me $11. Now it's costing me about $16, right? So food prices are going up, retail stores, prices of products, it's variable, but we're all definitely feeling it. Um, what I'll try to do today is go over what I think the situation um, entails, and I'll try to use my MBA education to explain it succinctly to the best of my knowledge. I want to touch on 10 core economic indicators and discuss whether it's trending positively, neutrally, or negatively. And so, first off, what is a recession? Well, or how do you dictate whether we're in one or not? Based on the National Bureau of Economic Research, whenever we have two consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, you can typically lean on that as being a signal of that, yeah, we're leaning into a recession. But looking at number one of the 10 economic indicators to look out for, GDP growth, right? It's currently trending negatively. What does it measure? It measures our country's, if our economy is growing, right? So that's one of the most popular ones. It can show if we're contracting or expanding, etc. Number two, unemployment rate, right? It's currently trending neutrally. What is it? It's the percentage of labor force that is unemployed but actively seeking employment, right? It shows basically the health of the labor market. A lower unemployment rate generally indicates a stronger economy. Number three, the industrial production index. It's currently trending negatively, right? So this is the measure of output of industrial sectors such as manufacturing, mining, and utilities. And the key takeaway is that this index gives insight into the strength of the industrial sector, which is, a significant part of our economy. Number four, retail sales. It's trending neutrally. So reflects how much spending you and I are doing, right, at our local stores, whether you're buying a new pair of shoes, or whatever. And so it's the overall reflection of our, consumer spending in this country, right? So number five, consumer confidence index. This is seen as a negative trend. What is it? It measures how optimistic consumers are about the economy. The key takeaway is that consumer confidence can influence spending decisions. So it's a valuable indicator of future economic, activity. Number six, consumer sentiment index, which is out of the University of Michigan. It's currently negative trend. What is it? It's a monthly survey of how consumers feel about the economy, their personal finances, business conditions, and buying conditions. And the key takeaway is that if it shows a significant drop, it can indicate a negative shift in how us consumers feel about the economy. Number seven, housing starts. It's currently showing a negative trend. What is it? It's the number of new residential construction projects that have begun in a given period. So basically, are new homes being built? And the key takeaway is that the strength of the housing market has a significant impact on the economy. And I mean, if anyone remembers 2008, 9, 10, right, the housing crash, we already know how significant residential housing is in this economy. Going on to number eight, the S&P 500 index. Basically, we're looking at top stocks reliable ones in the stock market. It's seen as a negative trend, and it tracks the performance of 500 large cap companies, specifically in the US. And the key takeaway is that the S&P 500 is a widely used benchmark for overall health of the US stock market. Number 9, the US yield curve. It's trending slightly steeper, and basically this is a graph that plots the interest rates of the US Treasury securities with different maturity dates. Key takeaway is that the shape of the yield curve can provide basically insights into investors' expectations for future economic growth and inflation. And so right now, with the trending slightly, it sees the economic downturn as less imminent than previously viewed. And then number 10, US credit spreads. It's trending wider. What is it? It's the difference in yield between corporate bonds and US Treasury securities. The key takeaways are that credit spreads reflect the market's perception of credit risk. Wider spreads indicate higher perceived risk. So to summarize that, out of the 10, what you see is 7 negative trends. The 7 negative ones, to recap, are the GDP growth rate, industrial production index, consumer confidence index, consumer sentiment index, which is the University of Michigan report, the housing starts, the S&P 500, and the US credit spreads. 7 total negative. The 3 that are neutral are the unemployment rate, the retail sales, and the US yield curve. So 7 to 3. Now, what are experts saying? Several major financial institutions and economists have increased their probability of forecasts for a US recession in 2025. Next is the IMF. So the International Monetary Fund recently downgraded its growth forecast for the US in 2025 and increased its probability of a US recession, right? And then the last one, chief economist views. Some of the chief economists are stating that a recession in this US is now their base case for this year, pointing to the impact of new trade policies, right? So that is what is being said, the sentiment that's felt. Now let's go to some expert billionaires. Number 1, Ray Dalio from Bridgewater Associates. Now, his views basically express that based on certain, global economic conditions and certain policy decisions, this could trigger an economic crisis that's actually worse than a typical recession. So he obviously has a negative sentiment. And then the next is Warren Buffett. Based on recent actions and what he's doing with Berkshire Hathaway, where he has massive cash holdings, right? Even bigger and larger than he had during COVID, where he took, a lot of money out of the markets, kept it on the sidelines, and being a net seller of stocks and his emphasis on value in a seemingly expensive market, it's reasonable to infer that he is cautious about the current economic environment and potentially sees an increased risk of an economic slowdown or recession. So based on the actual objective data, based on current industry professionals and experts, based on some of the world's richest billionaires, there tends to be a stronger lean towards a negative sentiment and an imminent recession if we're not already in one. And from my personal perspective, I think it's, what I've learned is that a recession can be very subjective and it's relative to the individual at the end of the day, regardless of what all the experts say or the layman says. Like, if we are in even prosperous economic times of growth, but you're someone who's unemployed for 6+ months, to me, at least, I would feel like I'm in a recession because my purchasing power has diminished significantly, right? So if you are going to the store, if it feels like it's painful when you make that purchase, that your money doesn't go as far, then guess what? It's valid. It's valid to say and feel that, yes, you indeed are in a recession. So that is my response to whether we are in one or not. And I would say, yeah, it feels like it. How about yourself? Leave me a comment. Give me your take, any pushback, anything you disagreed with or agreed with.